Hi, everybody. Very glad you are here. All right, we are continuing on with our quizzes lesson. So we talked about creating a quiz already and controlling some of the settings associated with that quiz. And what we really want to do now is get into it about building an actual quiz. In the page that you have for this lesson, there lists all the different question types and why or when you might use those different question types. So what I would just thought I would show you here are some of the most common. I'll be really honest with you, the best way to learn this is by playing with it. So I would strongly encourage you to have your screen split here, to be in your sandbox here, be in a sample quiz that you have created. Maybe you created that in the last lesson. Open that back up again and just start to play. I am going to go into a quiz that I already have created in my professional development course instead of going back to my sandbox, because I have a professional development session on Canvas quizzes and various question types, and I'm going to show you this practice quiz here. Okay. What I did when I created this quiz is I just created a variety of question types so that we could see all the different types that there are. So I'm just going to go through them. And like I said, I encourage you to play. All right. In general, when you are building a quiz, you're going to add new questions in by using this blue button here with the white plus sign in the middle of it. Okay. And when you click on that, you can see it as I hover over that, it even tells me that's the add content button. So I'm going to click on that, and here are all my different question types, as well as a text block, for example, which is just an organizational tool that you might want to use. The other thing that is visible here on this screen is a link to my item banks, and we will cover that in a separate training video. So categorization, a file upload, making formulas, matching questions, multiple choice questions, putting things in order. So maybe this is a timeline thing in a history class. Put these events in the order that they actually happened. Essay, anything that is requiring student entry of an answer for the most part is an essay. Fill in the blank. Hotspot is like click on, maybe if you're teaching a subject like geography and you want them to click on a map for a certain place, that would be that. Or say it's science and you want them to, click on the femur bone, that kind of a thing. Being able to choose multiple answers, so check all that apply. A numeric answer, the answer actually is a number. I don't use that one very often because I may use that for fill in the blank. And then your basic true false question. So a lot of these should sound, if you're used to writing assessments with a variety of question types, there's nothing new here really, right? The question really is, how do I create these in Canvas? And that's, again, I'll go back to the trial and error is one of the best things that you could do. Last one, I didn't mention stimulus question. I actually use these a ton in history. So maybe I'm uploading a political cartoon, let's say, and then I have 2 or 3 questions or more or less, whatever, that are based on that cartoon. So then all the questions become linked to that one stimulus item. Okay, so that's all the different question types. Let's just look through this quiz, and I think I'll link this quiz for you so you can go into this quiz and take this quiz as a student and see these different question types. All right. Question number 1, 2, and 3 are all select from bank questions. So this is a type of question where if I have a bank, I can say here, I have a bank called select from bank, and it is going to randomly choose 3 questions from that bank of questions. A great tool to ensure that there's, it's almost like you're getting like a test A and a test B by simply choosing select from bank. So that's what those are. This is an example of a check all that apply. All the following countries are located in South America. You would ask them to select those 3, right? Matching, so matching a country to its capital city here. Now this says there are 2 distractors that are not used. Let me go into edit mode here. Now I've got this in the bank, so I've got to edit it in the bank. And what are my distractors? Washington, D.C. and London. So those are what we mean by having distractors there. Okay. I'll view this as a student in just a second so you can see what that looks like as well. Okay. Here's another one that's probably going to have, did I do any distractors on this one? I did not. So this is called a categorization type question where students are going to drag these. So here's all the possible answer options: Germany, Italy, Thailand, Japan, Egypt, Kenya, and they have to drag and drop. This is one of those ordering questions. A fill in the blank. This is the one that's probably got the most unique setting configurations because there's so many things you might want to consider as far as the permutations of this. So for example, this is going to be open entry, but I can do drop down, or I can have them choose from a word bank, but I wanted them to, I almost always do open entry. They actually have to type the word. They have no prompting at all except for the context of the sentence. You see I have these tick marks around death. That's the word that is going to be removed from, so do you see those tick marks? The back tick. That's the word that's going to be taken out of the sentence, and the blank is going to be put in its place. Now, under text match, you can make it exact. They have to write death in this sentence exactly as I have written it. You can specify what correct answers might be, like maybe it's death with a capital D or death with a lowercase v, close enough, and ignore case. And this Levenstein distance is how many times would they have to hit the backspace key to get the correct answer. So it's giving kind of a margin of error is the best way that I could explain it. Depending on how challenging the word is I'm asking them to fill in, I will increase that number. That's how I usually set that up. Okay. So that's fill in the blank. Again, that is the one with sort of the most unique settings to it. This is an example of a hotspot type question. So I asked, click on the state of Nebraska, and anywhere they clicked within the shape. Now, yeah, there's a little bit of Colorado, a little bit of Iowa, a little bit of South Dakota, etc., but that's going to be kind of close enough. Here's an example of a stimulus question. So I've given them this map, and then do you see this little L-shaped line there? Texas fought in the Union in the Civil War. Is that true or is that false? They should be able to tell that's false from that. This one is also associated with the question, and I did a numeric question. So how many states ceded from the United States and formed the Confederate? If they just count those, they would be able to answer that as 11. I asked them to do an essay question. So I told them they could type their answer, record their answer by voice, or record their answer by video. On my regular assessments, I don't do these. This again was for PD, so I was just kind of trying to show some ideas. So there's a lot of different question types in that. I'm trying to think of ones I did not do. I did not do a true, I did do a true or false. Did a stimulus, did an ordering, did a numeric, multiple choice, multiple answer, matching, hotspot. Oh my gosh, I did a lot. Fill in the blank, essay, category. I did almost all of them. I did not do a file upload. Quite honestly, I don't do that very often. In fact, I never do that on an assessment. If I'm having them upload a file, that's usually for an assignment, not a test. But talk with your mentor, talk with your department head, and see if there's situations where you might want to do that. I also did not do a formula question, and I apologize as a non-math teacher. That's just not kind of my area of expertise, not my jam. Again, if you are a math teacher, talk with your mentor or your department head to find out if that's something that you all use in your department. Okay, last thing let's do is let's view this as a student. So I'm going to come up here to this preview button and click on preview. Takes a second to load. Okay, so you can see I set this as a 10-minute timer. And this is what this is going to look like, all these different question types for a student here. I mentioned in an earlier video that pin. Students can pin a question if they want to remember, I've got to come back to that question later on. So that's what that is all about. Okay. I think it's Madrid. Okay. And you see how it shuffled those? So I had it set to shuffle, okay? At least I think I did. Okay, and then you can see there are 2 distractors that won't be used. This is where I'll just see those distractors. So here they all are in this list, okay? And the thing about matching is they don't eliminate answers. And so best practice often is to make a matching section a little bit smaller so you don't have 20 answers or something that they're choosing from here. But again, you do you. And decide what is your best practice here. But if I've got an assessment with a lot of terms to it, I might chunk those up into sections for them, okay? Okay, so this is what that drag and drop looks like. Categorization. Sometimes instead of matching, I will do these. This does require you to go back and manually grade to give them the right answers though, or the right point value. So just keep that in mind when you're doing this. Okay. Hopefully you're seeing as I'm talking over what this looked like. And again, I could do this based on how I wrote the question and it would be okay. All right, and I'm going to submit. And it is set to auto grade for me. Hopefully I got one wrong. Which one did I get wrong? I wrote this quiz. How could I have gotten this wrong? Oh, because it's just waiting to grade. So because this is an essay question, it's waiting to grade. Oh, so I did get 100, thankfully. All right, so let's exit this out. So again, that's just that preview option. Always a good practice to preview your assessments after you've written them. The other thing that I would probably do here at this point in my, sort of standard practice is notice this is a 21-point quiz. I can see that over here. I'm going to get out of here. I'm going to hit my return button. And I'm going to go into the quiz itself and double check that my point value there is also set to 21. Okay. And again, you get a chance to see these kinds of settings and all that kind of stuff. All right. So let me go ahead and save that. It was correct. All right. All right. Those are all your different question types. I hope that's been helpful. If you want to see this quiz again, it'll be linked on your Canvas page, and good luck quiz building.